What's your opinion about Sully's landing? Well, I think he has done a great job, and I don't think many people would have been able to do the same. So I can only respect it, and I feel sorry for the way he had to defend his actions. Tamara Cross asked, what flight school did you go to? It was European Flyers in Madrid, and in vlog 3 I've been to the flight school again, so if you're curious, have a look. Were you part of a cadet program? No, I did it all the normal way. How was the selection process? In vlog 20 and 21 you can see all about the selection process. Are there many job opportunities? It's difficult to say. Aviation is just like any other sector, like economy. It can be very, very good, and it can be very, very bad. So a few years ago we had too many pilots and too little jobs, and right now it's turning around because less people have been trained to become a pilot, and now there start to be slowly there start to be a lack of pilots with too many job opportunities because there are many aircraft orders, and maybe there's not enough pilots to take these planes for a ride. Favorite part of being a pilot is probably to explore so much of the world, even if it's from above, even if I don't get to see the destination. I mean, it's just great to allow myself to, I can travel all over the world, and I can call it my profession. That's probably the best thing. And then to be able to control such a powerful machine, such a powerful aircraft, yeah, it's just amazing. For me, it's the best thing in the world. What did you do after flight school? That I explained in vlog 21. When do pilots do their type rating? Well, this could be either people can do it after their flight school if they already know which type of plane they want to fly, but I chose not to do that because I wanted to keep my options open. So I waited until I was hired by my current company, and they facilitated the type rating, so they gave the training. Then about turbulence. Why does it feel like potholes? How to detect turbulence? And do you have any advice for people that are afraid of turbulence? It's really nothing to be afraid of. Turbulence is basically a vertical motion of the air, and this has to do with temperature differences, pressure differences. It could be in clouds, because inside clouds there is usually a lot of vertical motion. I've told you before, maybe you've seen it, about the cumulonimbus clouds, but it can also happen outside clouds. So in clear air turbulence is much more difficult to detect because our weather radar does not show clear air turbulence, only the turbulence that you can find inside the clouds. So yes, basically if we encounter turbulence, we will always try to climb or descend to a different altitude and see if there is less turbulence there. We usually report turbulence and the intensity to the air traffic control, so they can have a proper overview on which altitudes and which locations there are turbulence and where not. And yeah, we will always try to get out of the turbulence. This is not really for safety, it's mostly for passenger comfort. So again, there's nothing to be afraid of. Does the 717 have the same specs as the MD-11? Nice question in Dutch. I like Dutch questions. Yes, basically the 717 was indeed manufactured initially by McDonnell Douglas. So the systems, they are really similar to the MD-11. Even the screens, the whole cockpit layout, that in the previous video I have showed the 717 cockpit. I think you can see, if you know a bit of the MD-11, I think you can see many similarities. And yeah, the only difference is the extra engine on the MD-11. How to find a job after flight school? Just do whatever it takes. Fly all over the world. Don't be picky. Don't say, "I know I don't want to fly in Alaska because it's cold in Alaska." Yes, it is cold, but it maybe Alaska will provide you this job. Go for it. um, no, really, try to indeed not be picky. Apply all over the world. If you really want it, you would have to sacrifice a bit. Also, make your CV the best possible. So apply before being hired as an airline pilot. Try to find other jobs in aviation, continue flying, be at the local air club, network with people that are in aviation because it's such a small world. I mean, really. And yes, learn languages. Languages are great, especially if you're in aviation. I hope this is all the advice I can give you. Basically, good luck. Um, is it hard being a pilot? Yes, it could be difficult in case of emergency or difficult weather, but in general, if everything goes normal and we know our procedures and we have our skills, I don't think it's really difficult to become a pilot or to be a pilot. Especially because, and again, this is when everything goes normal in the air on cruise altitude. All we have to do is do our checks, so our fuel checks, check if all the systems are correct, and our time checks. And other than that, we actually have time, especially on the longer flights, to actually have a chat with one another. And so yes, to be a pilot, it does not have to be difficult, but it could be difficult, and this is why we have to always continue to study and to train. The worst situation as a pilot, or have you ever experienced any emergency? Well, in flight school, I remember it was not an emergency, but I remember that I was flying solo, and at some point both my screens turned off. They went completely black, and I tried to turn them back on, and they couldn't. And I had to continue flying with my basic backup, or what do we call them, standby instruments, which was not a problem because I was perfectly able to do that. But obviously, with the little information I knew and with the little knowledge I had of the Cessna aircraft, I was thinking, what if it's not just the screens being broken, but maybe there is an electrical failure? So I was immediately thinking about the consequences that a possible electrical failure could have with regards to flaps, etc. So yeah, that was quite difficult. And then there was another moment where this was, thankfully I was still in the traffic pattern. I got the notification also on the Garmin screens, and again flying solo, I got the message, carbon monoxide level high. Carbon monoxide is highly toxic, and it is, you cannot smell it, you cannot feel it, you cannot see it, you cannot hear it. So carbon monoxide is very dangerous to have in the plane. I did not know if this message was correct or that it was an error. But because it's a toxic gas that you cannot smell, I could not take any risk assuming that this message was not correct. So I opened all the vents because the Cessna was unpressurized, so I could open all the air vents to get some fresh air coming in, and I stayed in the traffic pattern. I made a short field, I did a short traffic pattern, I landed and had the plane go to maintenance. So it's good to get into these situations because you will notice how you react in a certain situation, even though it was not a really imminent danger or emergency, but it's good to see how you react when something doesn't go as planned. Have you ever been in advertent IMC? Yes, I've been. When I was flying also in flight school. It's a whole confession time here, guys. I was flying in flight school and I took off and I was enjoying so much the beautiful mountains that are north and west of Madrid, and I was just following them. I had I think 2 hours of flight time, solo flight, and I enjoyed it so much. I went on, and then when I wanted to turn back after 1 hour, I saw that the weather had changed a lot, and there was a lot of clouds over Madrid and over the airfield that I was supposed to land. The clouds were so beautiful and the nature was so beautiful, so I did not really regret it, but I felt a bit bad. Thankfully the clouds ended up higher than the traffic pattern, so I went through the clouds and then I could continue with my visual navigation and land visually and everything. So it was not really bad. But yes, I've been in advertent IMC. How many miles do you fly a year? Oh my god, that's difficult. How many miles I fly a year? You know, actually, I believe on Rasterbuster app you can actually see all these statistics. I only downloaded it not so long ago, so I cannot have the statistics of the whole year. But it would be cool. I think I would, in the future, I will do this calculation on how many miles I fly a year, because yeah, it would be really interesting. I think a lot, because I make usually per day maybe between 1200 and 1600 nautical miles. So can you imagine how many that would be per year? Oh my god. Could you land a plane without power in a flat field or road? Well, yes, I think I could. If we're talking about the Cessna, I remember that because the Cessna, it only had one engine, and we were actually supposed to, in case of an engine failure, to land in a field, and we would distinguish this field we would choose a field based on the slope, on the condition, whether it was dry or wet, the length. We would take into account the wind. It would be favorable to have headwind. So yes, I mean, I think really in case of an engine failure with the Cessna, with a single engine plane, being a light aircraft, yes, I mean, we practiced a lot. I think I would be confident. I mean, I would not be happy to do it, but I think it would be possible. But with the 717, no, we're flying high enough with the Boeing to actually, in case of a possible total loss of engine thrust, we fly high enough to actually glide and flow down to a nearest suitable airfield. And was anyone in your family in aviation? I believe the brother of my grandfather was a flight engineer in the KLM Boeing 747. He passed away before I actually got into aviation myself. We never really got to talk about that, and I don't feel I've ever had there was no family member that actually told me a lot or got me super inspired in aviation. That I all had to do myself. But thankfully my family, all of my family, they have always supported me, and I can only thank them so much for it. So that was it, guys. I feel that I've been talking way too long. Really, look, like I've tried to answer all your questions. And I even highlighted all of them. So yeah, 4 pages of questions. I hope you liked it. Sorry if it was too long. I hope to have answered all your questions. And see you next week. Bye bye. Thank you all.